So like when I started telling people, yeah, my follow up is a about a mutated killer priest that's on a mission to wipe out heavy metal. Everyone was like, "What the fuck? Like, how do you go from this
Yeah, yeah.
to that?" Like I was saying before we started, it's been a minute since I've talked to anyone about Death to Metal. We did our our heavy press
Yeah.
in during the pandemic and the film festival. We had a short film festival run in 2019, so it's cool to you know people. I keep seeing people reviewing it online, like on
Yeah.
Letterboxd, and every now and then someone like you will reach out about it. So it's really cool that Death to Metal is still finding its audience. You know.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard to get Wild Eye stuff in the UK. So like, I've only just like found out about it. I've only just seen copies like become available in the UK. So like, I got my copy like literally a week ago. I think maybe I saw the trailer towards the end of last year, but I didn't even realize it had been out that long, man. You know, like I thought it was like just made kind of thing. We're always behind in the UK. It's really hard to get like kind of low budget films and like indie films. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever dabbled with like a VPN or something like that? I feel like that could be really beneficial
I did.
to.
Yeah, I did back in the day, man. Yeah, like, and I used to stream more stuff and like download more stuff as well. Now, like, it's weird. Like, I kind of grew up like renting videos, collecting videos, buying loads of videos, and then like stopped buying DVDs for maybe a decade or whatever. And as I kind of got into my thirties, then I started to like re-buy all the videos that I'd lost throughout the years, re-buy DVDs, and like, yeah, now it's like it's like the only way to get like the low budget stuff that I really love, or like the indie stuff that I'm really into. And it was the cover, man. Like, the cover is fucking so good, dude. Like,
Yeah,
who did
yeah.
the cover for you? Oh, okay.
Sadistic art designs. Mark, he did such a good job with it, and we had a like three different artists do kind of different versions of. And I think the different versions are in there. In the There's like a fold out
Yeah,
a
yeah,
thing in the Blu-ray that shows some of the different versions. So we had some great artists do some great cover. Obviously for horror and definitely a very niche genre film like this, like Metasploitation.
yeah,
The cover art is good. And talking about I I'm guessing we're probably around the same age because I grew up going to the rental store too, and
yeah,
I would always beg my parents to I want to rent this one because it's got the creepy looking like monkey on it,
yeah,
or
yeah,
I want to rent this one because there's a big weird thing with a bunch of teeth,
yeah,
critters or
yeah,
whatever. Like the cover art was such a part of the movie rental experience,
yeah,
and man, I would have like nightmares about some of like the more
yeah,
iconic cover arts, in the horror section and stuff. It was just like this like me dabbling with my fears and like
yeah,
wondering
yeah,
what was in there. And more often than not, my parents were like, "Hell no, I'm not going to let you.
yeah,
I don't want to deal with you tonight. When you're
yeah,
supposed to be going to bed." So yeah, I mean, all the art that was done for it, and going back to the first part, appreciate getting a physical copy, and thank God that there's like kind of this resurgence of physical
yeah,
media, so that we're not being completely held hostage by all of the streaming
yeah,
websites as they change their prices and as they consolidate. And it's
yeah,
just getting so goofy to even figure out, like, if I buy this digital copy from Amazon, not just rent it, do I actually own it? Like,
yeah,
what if Amazon gets sold? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just so much bullshit associated with being on a streaming platform, and what's on a streaming platform for what amount of time
yeah,
versus just being like, hey, Death to Metal is right here on my shelf. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's fun. I want to watch it because it's Easter weekend and the movie takes place on Easter
yeah,
weekend,
yeah,
right, or something
yeah,
like that. It's just so much easier, and I'm hoping that the generations that follow us continue to prove
yeah,
to the people that are at the top, making all the money off of all of this stuff, that yeah, physical media isn't dead.
yeah,
It's just like what happened with vinyl.
yeah,
Um, So
And like it's twofold, isn't it? It's like the ownership of something, so you can have it. It's also like the collector side of it, so you got like the cool artwork or the cool cover, or like the bonus features. Like you're not getting special features on stuff anymore. You're not getting commentary tracks on anything. You're not getting the making of, and like as like film nerds and filmmakers, like that's what you want, isn't it? Like I just got the Tim Ritter Truth or Dare box set with all the Truth or Dare films in that SRS did,
cool.
and like
Yeah.
I've seen the first one, I haven't seen the other ones, and I haven't started making my way through them yet. But I was looking at like the bonus, and I was like, there's hours of commentaries. There's like archival making ofs from the time. There's new stuff they've done. Like there's so much. It's like packed, and that's what it's all about. And it's like having all that cool stuff to dig through, and maybe it's from the VHS thing. Maybe it's from because it used to be an event. Like I'd finish school, I'd go with my dad, we'd go and rent stuff. He'd go to like the action and the new release stuff. I'd like sneak down the horror aisle, and like I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there, like looking at all, you know what I mean? And then yeah, I'd show him like two or three and be like, okay, which one am I allowed? You know, and he'd like usually pick. I remember being allowed like Wolf with Jack Nicholson, but like not The Howling. You know what I mean? Like so it would be.
Yeah, sure.
It was kind of the opposite of what I love now, which is like the crazier the box art is, the less chance I would have of seeing it. Whereas now it's like the other way around, you know. So like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a thing, man. Like you be super excited to see it. You take it home, like there'd be anticipation before you watch it, and it'd be like a whole big event. And that's kind of what I miss about films, and like buying stuff physically still does that for me now, which is cool. And renting, like streaming stuff, it just doesn't have the same. There's no ritual to it, you know. There's no like fun.
Yeah. There it was absolutely a ritual, and it was a shared experience that whether you're from the UK or the United States or elsewhere in the world, where there were movie rental shops, like most people, especially horror fans, like have a moment where they're trying to like convince their parents to let them watch like a certain movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's there's just a deliberation about it, and again, like you said, ritual is like the perfect way of looking at it. Whether it was like every Friday night or every other weekend or whatever. Yeah, and by owning physical media, you can kind of participate that again, right? Like I was talking, I'm a big vinyl collector. Music, if you didn't know, having made a metal exploitation film, music is a big part of my life, and not just metal, like all music. So I have a huge vinyl collection, and I just had a son. He's only 1.5 right now. And like one of the things that we've already been kind of like, he's got this toy vinyl thing. It's just like a plastic thing, and there's different colored vinyls and stuff. And he'll put a different one on, and one's got like row your boat.
Okay,
one's got
cool.
Itsy Bitsy Spider and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly teaching him that that ritual of like putting on different songs and stuff, so that when he gets old enough, he can get his paws on my collection, and he can look at the art and make a choice based on that, and I can tell him like why I have this, and yeah, God bless physical media. Hopefully it continues to stay, and thank you again for getting the I got a bunch of them right here actually. The Wild Eyes just sent me some of their back stock, so
that was
and I was like
the vinyl thing was how I found metal as well. Like I think I was like 8, and my dad had like loads of records, but they were all like in the attic. And the one day I just kept nagging him to like get this box down. Got this box down, and like in this one box was like the Iron Maiden Live After Death, Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous, like British Steel Live, like there was just everything. There was a lot of Gary Moore stuff, there was Sabbath stuff in there, like kind of all the like formative stuff that you could hope for in one box.
Sure.
And I remember Appetite for Destruction being in there and being terrified of the artwork, you know what I mean? Because it was the uncut one with like the blood and that boob hanging out and stuff on the cover. And I was like, what is this? And like all of it together just blew my mind. And like putting those records on and listening to them when I was that age, like it wasn't long at all after that. And I was like, all his VHS. He had like Van Halen Live Without a Safety Net on VHS, and all these like cheesy White Snake videos with like loads of smoke and cars and like babes and stuff. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I was all in, man. Like I used to just like put a vest on. I thought like to be like a rock star, you just had to wear a vest all the time because of
Sure,
because of
sure.
Van Halen. So like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would just wear a vest and just fucking slide round on my knees on the carpet, just playing air guitar to these videos, man. And like, yeah, that I think maybe that experience was then mirrored with horror later. So for me, like as soon as I saw your movie, I was like, okay, it's the two things that I love most in one place. Um, what was it for you that got you into metal when you were young?
Oh man. Yeah, I'm trying. It's a very long journey to metal, at least in my brain. It's not unlike what you just described, right? Like my parents were music fans, but not like they weren't like crazy like I ended up becoming, especially in my teens and 20s, where
Yeah,
I was just like going to shows constantly, and I had a CD collection that was probably close to like 1,000 CDs at one point. Like in high school, like all I was doing was like working so I could buy the new releases, and
yeah,
I have like very like pivotal memories of like my freshman year in high school. For instance, there was like a three week like run up. It was uh, Iowa, Slipknot's Iowa came out on August 28th, 2001, and then Toxicity came out
yeah.
the next week on September 4th, and then of course September 11th happens. September 11th happens, but also Slayer's "God Hates Us All,"
Oh
and just
yeah,
like there's like
yeah,
that like stretch of records
yeah,
being released, and me like running to the record store to get it like after leaving high school, and just like being in high school that year, and like really, let me like dial it back a little bit. Really, I think what ended up taking me towards metal were listening to my parents' Beatles records and Pink Floyd records, more so Pink Floyd. And I
yeah,
think Pink Floyd, like, they really garnered my appreciation for just experimental kind of stuff. Like if you looked at Pink Floyd's like discography from like front to back, there's just like something for everyone. And it's just such an adventure. Whether you think about the visuals that they tied to it through the cover arts, or some of the films that they made, the stories that they told, they were just such an iconic band and kind of a watershed moment for opening up genre meddling
yeah,
to a certain extent, right? And my love of metal kind of starts to seep into that stuff. And I think one of my first metal bands that I really knew that I was gonna like kind of start going all over the place was Opeth,
yeah,
because I got my hands on Blackwater Park. I think this was back in 2001 again when it came out, and it just blew my mind.
yeah,
Like before that record, I wasn't really into like the super extreme stuff, um, or like the super proggy like long stuff. Like most of the metal I'd been listening up to that point was new metal
yeah,
stuff. Like um, like I was into Limp Bizkit for a little bit when I was in grade school, and everybody was into that kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
stuff, and Corn, and but like Opeth just blew my mind because it felt like I shouldn't be listening to it almost. Like the first time I heard, like those vocals were so, Ackerfeld's vocals were so deep and growly,
yeah,
and I was like, I never liked this stuff. Like the Deicide, and when I heard
yeah,
some of those songs, like like in 1999 and 2000, I was like, this is just like almost like I don't get it. Like, I just
yeah,
don't get it, right? But Opeth opened that door for me to liking more prog influence stuff, and then more like just like really extreme stuff, like starting
yeah,
to understand like the appeal of like Cannibal Corpse and that whole Florida death metal scene,
yeah,
Morbid Angel and Deicide. And yeah, it was just like off to the races there, man.
yeah,
Like I
man.
just like couldn't get enough, and me and my friends, we started bands. I was in like three different bands growing up, which is where a lot of the uh, you know the want to write a movie like Death to Metal
Mm,
came from, was like playing in these these, dingy local bars
Yeah.
and like, or bars that were like an hour away from my hometown. And it felt like the weight of the world was on your shoulders to like get people at those shows. And, it sucked when you only played for two, but if 20 people showed up, oh my God, it was like the best time ever. And
Yeah.
like, just that whole, like, it was a perfect storm where me and my friends were all really exploring a bunch, and there was a lot of great metal coming out, a lot of great genre meddling, a lot of great hybrid bands and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I was in a band called Lacrimose in when I was a freshman in high school, and then a junior in high school, I was in a band called Seppuku, which was like straight up like a Black Dahlia like
Okay.
riff.
Yeah. Cool.
Like we just me and three of my other friends were just so into their first record on Hollowed that we're
Yeah.
just
Me
like,
too,
let's
man.
try to do this. Like,
Yeah.
let's try to do this too. And we
What were you
actually had the
playing?
privilege of.
Guitar.
No, I was on vocals
Oh.
actually.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I actually do vocals in the movie when Zane is. I'm jumping around a lot, sorry, but when Zane is doing his performance, that's me on
Okay.
vocals
Cool. Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Easter egg there,
Yeah.
But so it was from just like listening to my parents' old records to just knowing that I loved music, and then just having the right like friends around me who were also getting into, you know, more interesting, more extreme music. It
Yeah.
was just like the perfect storm to kind of like, you know, explore all of that. And to this day, I'm such a huge consumer
Yeah.
of metal, and it still is one of like the fiercest genres that like they're still just like churning out. Like I feel like stuff that I was like, why didn't anyone ever think to do this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's just so much great stuff to be found in so many genres that are still like flying under the radar.
Yeah. I felt like that's what I really appreciated when I started watching your film, because I'm wary of metal films a little bit because I've seen a lot of them. A lot of them are fine. A lot of them suck, and so many of them get it wrong. Like they just get it wrong, and it's like you mix in. I don't know. You mix in stuff that's credible with stuff that's kind of not credible, or you're doing really cringy shit, or there's bad wigs, or there's like OTT, and you're just like, yeah. That's why I'm wary, because I've seen so much stuff that I've been like, oh, it's just not. It doesn't feel like it's made by people who understand that community or have grown up playing in bands and being a part of that scene or whatever. It feels like somebody trying to approximate a subculture. And as soon as I put your film on, I was like, okay, there's blast beats on the menu. That's a good sign. Like, there's never blast beats in metal films, so I'm like, okay, this is good already. Then I saw the Deicide shirt, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is somebody who's like at least knows about extreme metal. This could be like, you know what I mean, something that makes sense. And then, yeah, I mean, as soon as you start, then especially like doing a similar thing to you playing in bands when I was like teens to early 20s or whatever, and being a part of the metal scene and making metal for years, it's so nice to watch a film when somebody is speaking from within the metal community and they're getting it right, and it's not made in a exploitative way. It's made like a love letter to metal, which I really appreciated about death metal, man. So like when you come up with the idea for that film, have you had it for years and always gone, oh, we need to make a metal film about using these experiences, or was it something that came to you just as you were writing it? Or
Well, so I appreciate you saying all that. It was a really hard, like, kind of like balance to kind of like tiptoe, right? Because the metal scene is very fragmented, right? Like there is this like propensity to be like very serious in sub segments
yeah,
of metal, and then there's this other like it's just like we're kind of like goofing around, and this is just fun, right? And really what this all like kind of boiled down to was a couple things. So I grew up in Catholic schools, like went to a Catholic high school. So, I was very much exposed to all the stupid shit that is when it comes to, organized religion, right? So I've always kind of had an axe to grind with
Yeah.
people in power exploiting people not in power with religion as a tool. So that's something I've always just kind of been interested about. And I think the first time we ever joked about, you know, doing something like this, we were on like a mini tour for a black metal band that I was in called Nether Void, and we were joking about how the night before we there was just like a funny thing that had happened where we used to put candles, like a lot of black metal bands do, like candles on the stage and all that kind of stuff. And we ran out of just like the scentless candles, so we had to like scrounge and like go to like a gas station and buy all these candles.
Right.
And they were like apple pie scented and
Yeah.
like all this stuff. We were playing for like 5 people, and this drunk guy was like, the fuck is that apple pie? Anywho, and that's just like one of like the ridiculous things. And I was like, that's such a funny moment. Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be funny to like inject that into a movie or something? So we were just like riffing in the tour van and talking about stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I think we were just like pitching fake movie ideas, and we originally started talking about wouldn't it be cool if like a metal band was like at like a show fighting, like I don't know, like what would be a cool villain, like a priest, right? Like it's always like religion
Yeah.
and metal like bumping heads for all the wrong reasons. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure that was kind of like the first time that it was ever like uttered or thought of. Or and again, it's talking about towing that line between like the funny stuff, that the campy stuff that happens when you're at like local shows and metal shows versus like the super serious stuff. And you kind of sense that. You do music videos too, right? I
Yeah.
think I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you kind of sense that in like the differences in music videos. You have bands sometimes that on paper sound really serious, but then they drop a music video and it's like they're like
Yeah.
zombies or in a roller rink or
Yeah.
something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like the video couldn't be less
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
serious. And that was something that was always interesting me too, because I think there's something in the metal scene where like people don't want to take themselves like too serious like all the time, or it's like a bad thing if it's a complete like stone of seriousness.
Yeah.
So like let's drop the serious record, but like let's make a music video that's kind of like one for the boys, where it's just
Yeah.
silly and goofy and like we're having fun and like all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that was like the first time where and then I think I wrote a first draft in like 2011, I want to say. And I recruited a friend of mine who was also in the music scene, more in like the indie music scene. He was in a band called the Tanks in Iowa City, who was one of his bandmates was also in my black metal band Nether Void, Adam Luxatish. And I just knew that Kevin was interested in movies and interested in writing, and I knew we liked a lot of the same movies. And I just wanted someone to kind of like riff like some of like the comedic elements with. So I brought him on board as a co-writer. And at this point in my career, I had already made a bunch of short films and a feature film right after film school. I went to film school for college. My first film called Black Web couldn't be like more serious. It's like a drama with a sci-fi twist about a guy who receives his future obituary back when in 1999, when the internet was still like new and young and stuff. And so like that movie couldn't have been just completely different than Death
Yeah.
to Metal, which seems to be kind of a theme with my movies. They all just kind of explore a subgenre of like again drama, sci-fi, comedy, horror, anthology horror. They're just kind of going through the subgenres like you
Yeah.
do in metal, I guess,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with these movies. So like when I started telling people, yeah, my follow up is about a mutated killer priest that's on a mission to wipe out heavy metal. Everyone was like, "What the fuck? Like, how do you go from this
Yeah. Yeah.
to that?" For people that knew me for a very long time, it made perfect sense
Yeah, man.
because that pitch is kind of like the embodiment of like who I was
Yeah.
in high school and in my early 20s when I was in bands. So for some it made complete sense. For others, they were like, "What?" You know.
Yeah.
But it was just like something I really wanted to do too, to kind of like cleanse my palate and move to the next project. And another part of it, which I think is proof in the pudding when you're looking at us having this conversation right here, is my first film had a really hard time finding an audience. Like it did really well in film festivals. Like I had my world premiere at the Seattle International Film Festival, which is considered like a top five, maybe a top five, maybe a top 10 film festival in the world. And then I had our international premiere at Fantasia in Montreal, which is probably considered one of the best like genre film festivals in the world. So
Yeah.
that first film did really well. We had a digital release and no one saw it,
Yeah.
right? It was a hard pitch. It was a slow burn. Uh, People saw. I think there was one review that said, my money would have been better spent buying a cup of coffee and pouring it on my lap. So it's insinuating that it was boring as fuck, and I was like, damn, okay. And I'd be lying like if some of those reviews didn't affect me in some
Yeah.
way, but
Yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, damn. I guess like one of the worst things you can do is like bore people, like but I don't know. Like, I was thinking about like just how devilishly like awesome people who are into just like underground cinema and exploitation films and like unique horror films, and horror fans in general are kind of like metal fans in the sense that they'll seek out the shit. They'll
Yeah.
figure out a way to import it, right? If they see something that they like,
Yeah.
they'll talk about it with their friends if they saw something they like. And obviously, as a horror fan myself, I was like, coming out of film school, I was like, I got to make a serious movie, because that's like kind of like the direction I was steered into from my instructors, and just
Yeah.
like the kind of things that we were taught.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why can't I make a movie about a mutated killer priest in a
Yeah. Fuck
some
yeah.
dingy bar in my hometown, and killing all these metal fans and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we did it. We
Yeah.
we crowdfunded, like almost $25,000, and we asked a lot of favors, and we pulled together some other funds from our commercial and corporate business, and put that into the movie. And we made a movie that we wanted to watch,
Yeah. Yeah. And it came
for
out
better
amazing, dude.
for better or
Like,
worse. And
it came out so
a lot of
good.
like the weirdest stuff was like us riffing in the final hour, like the opening scene. I think that everyone likes to talk about because of like the dick's fake, by the way. Everyone wants to know. Everyone usually wants to know. There's like, Jesus Christ, why did that dude put his micro dick on, like, in the first 2 minutes of the movie, like, out there? And I'm like, well, he didn't know what the penis was going to look like. He knew we had a fake penis for him, but he didn't know.
Yeah.
Jamie Schmidt is his name. He's a really cool dude. Also doing horror movies locally in town, just a little younger than me, like a decade younger than me. And
Yeah.
he's got a movie that just came out like a year ago called Are You Dead Yet? They're a fun crew, a fun team, making different style horror stuff than me. But it was fun to have Jamie in this one in the opening. But
Yeah.
that like idea of, so he was always going to piss on the Bible, but like there was never going to be the shock value of like a snap zoom, on the actual pissing of the Bible and seeing the dick, right? But we were like doing a pre-production meeting, like it was like a week or 2 weeks out from shooting that scene, and I was like, just like thinking aloud, and I was like, we don't, so they say in horror movies you're supposed to like kill someone or do something like that in the first like 2 to 3 minutes of the movie to like hook people in,
Yeah.
and to get them invested. And I was like, we're obviously not doing that, but like this scene is super important to like setting up everything else that comes, setting up the story of Milton,
Yeah.
being our antagonist, and giving him kind of like a little bit of a sympathetic like edge. And I was like, how can we make this like so like jarring and out there that it serves as our dead body, so to speak? So that's
Yeah.
when I started like busted out my laptop, and I was like, can we get like like a realistic looking fake dick, and just rig it so that we literally do like a snap zoom on it, so that
Yeah.
people know in the first 2 minutes, like, okay, like this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like what we're
yeah,
in
yeah,
for. Let's strap in, get the beer out of the fridge
yeah.
and
That's
and
what's
see
so
what
fun
happens
about it, dude.
next.
You know what I was expecting though? I was expecting a really low budget film. I was expecting a really crazy OTT film with like some jokey stuff in and some gory kills or whatever. I put it on, and what I wasn't expecting, that I was really fucking pleasantly surprised by, was amazing lighting, really nice fucking camera work. Like, it looks like it was shot on like an expensive camera. The acting's really good. The blocking's really good. Like, technically, the filmmaking, it makes sense now you said that you went to film school and made a feature before it, because like I would have still watched this idea if it was like a shot on video, haphazard, slapped together by a bunch of teenagers film. I was really pleasantly surprised that it was like a really well executed. It didn't feel low budget at all. Like, it felt. So how was from when you started the Indiegogo and you raised the funds to it? Is the crew a crew that you work with in your commercial stuff as well? Did you get other people in? Like, how did you picture it?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you're talking about, the production value, goes back to just the collaboration with me and my director of photography, Jackson Gango. He's shot all of my features. My editor, Michael Zach, he has edited all my features. So we have this team of crew leads that have been the same
Yeah,
throughout, even as we've been jumping from different subgenre to different subgenre, right? So I think having worked together with these guys for over 15 years, almost 20 years now with Mike, my editor, because we just by chance ended up in the same dorm room in 2006 in
yeah,
Chicago. So, and I've been working with him ever since. So, yeah, these guys, they're, surround yourself with the best people, and they make you look good. I my best attribute is I can just keep projects moving. I can keep my eye on the prize. I'll never stop until we get it in front of an audience. Like I'm never like, let's pop the champagne out because we got the movie in the can. It's like, no, we need to start editing this bitch. And then like after it's edited, it's like, no, we need to get this. We need to get butts in the seats, and we need to get people to see this.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's like I'm never stopping. You know what I mean? So like that's where I come into play as like, the captain, so to speak. But these people that were on this team, from the department leads and the people down, some people that Samantha Seahawk, she was my co-producer on this. She's our my right hand man
yeah,
on this one, and the most recent, the Driftless anthology that we just made. So a lot of these people we've been working with for a very long time, and they're the reason that, on this one, I think the production budget was like just under 50,000, which might sound like a lot to some people, but we shot for almost a month, right?
okay,
And like it gets expensive,
yeah,
like putting people up in hotels, and I was very insistent on paying everybody something.
yeah,
Um, I can ask for a favor in the sense that like can you take a pay deduction, right? From your normal day rate. But
yeah,
I'm at the point in my career, even at that point in time, even more so now, but at that point in time, it's like, I want everyone to show up, and I want them to be there because they want to make the movie. But at the same time, like, I get it. Like, you can't take off work for a month to go
yeah,
on this wild journey for us. You need to walk away with something for your time. So I was very adamant about getting some money into people's pockets for doing this, even though we were all there uh, just because we wanted to make the movie, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
kudos to everybody that was involved. Very, very talented crew supporting, the vision at the top, and couldn't have got it done. The cast too, great cast.
yeah,
Um, you know, Dan Flannery, who is the older priest, he was probably the most well-rounded actor in the film, and he was in my previous feature, and God bless him for hopping over to
Yeah,
this one.
yeah, yeah.
He's got like a bit role. He was like Matt Damon's dad in Contagion, and he has a small role as the doctor in David Lynch's A Straight Story. And
Oh, cool.
um, I met him. He was doing some auditions for our film school back in he's a Chicago actor, but
Yeah.
he was great to work with again. And um, yeah, Alex who played Zane and Grace who played Mariah. Great cast through and through that you know, brought these characters to life.
So when you're shooting, there's times where your plans just need to change or things go out the window and you feel like you're ice skating uphill and you need to fly by the seat of your pants and come out. It's most of the time, it's basically what directing is, isn't it? It's just like making a
Yeah.
plan, planning it really fucking well, and then having it fall apart and trying to find something that works. Were there times where you were like, what the fuck am I going to do? Or was it pretty smooth, or how was it?
You know, we shot it in the summer of 2017. So it's been a while. So, you know, almost a decade since we shot it, and there was absolutely like crazy shit that happened during the production. Like one of one of the like the bit actors who was in Withered Christ, he's showing up the T-shirt, very stilted, kind of like odd performance. I forget his name. That's like who he was. Like that was
Yeah,
just like the dude. Like he auditioned for Zane, and I was like, that guy was strange, but I really like him, so I want to put him in the movie somehow.
yeah.
And like we got him an Airbnb, and he ended up following the instructions incorrectly, and he ended up essentially breaking into someone's house and like
Okay.
going to sleep and
Oh,
then getting
wow.
arrested
Oh, wow.
for breaking in. So that was the first one that comes to mind that I've almost blocked out of my memory. I remember
Yeah,
Samantha calling me and being like, "Yo, that dude's in jail. Like, I guess he like broke into someone's house." And I was like, "What?" You know,
okay.
he's supposed to be on set. You know, like
Yeah,
in like two hours. So she had to go and take care of it and explain like what had happened, the miscommunication and all that stuff. So that
yeah.
was like one of the things. There was all sorts of things. So like we actually bought like a beat up car and flipped it into like like a farm ditch. And
Awesome.
you know, we had a lot of like, even though we called the police in all of the different areas that we were in and let them
Mm,
know like, hey, we're doing this.
yeah,
We're going to be, you know, in a ditch with a flipped car on, you know, so and so's property. Like they know we're here.
yeah,
Just so you know, if anyone reports it, like a car in the ditch, like that's what we're doing. Like, you know, we're literally uh, filming a movie, and but sure as shit, still,
yeah,
you know, we had police come by, and you know, and you get like there's the camera, and then
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like it's fake blood, like no one's hurt, like I
yeah.
called it in, like check with your superiors. That happens so much. Like when there's a take, we should have had a blooper reel made, but we didn't make a blooper reel. There was a take where Vinny is getting choked by Kilborn outside the bar after he's like sick robe, and uh, just like a group of drunk girls were walking down the alley, and they thought like it was a real fight, so they like
Oh,
ran over and they're
shit.
like, "Stop it! You're gonna kill him!" You know, we're like, "Cut! No!" So a lot of that was
Yeah, yeah,
happening, and you know, maybe we should have shut down the area more, but you know, we only had a couple production assistants and like a crew of like 10 of us, you know, so small but mighty team.
yeah,
When you're
yeah,
just like in a big block area like that, like it can be challenging, but you know, luckily for us, there was no like injuries, or you know, we strive to make sure that our sets are safe. And I think the closest thing to an injury was like waterboarding Trent, who played the mutated Kilborn
yeah.
with blood at the scene where he gets stabbed in the throat with his cross, and falls into the altar. Like he's like literally choking on fake blood
Yeah.
there, because like what had happened is there was basically a pump in a tube up through his shirt into his mask that was supposed to like shoot out the blood, but the tube ends up coming back like as he's struggling, And so it's just like filling up and we weren't seeing anything. So the guy that was pumping the blood's just
Just
like looking
get
at the monitor and just keeps
yeah,
hitting. And Trent's, he was being a trooper and he didn't want so he
yeah,
just like kept
yeah,
just trying to spit as much blood as he could out. It looked sick and awesome. And I was like, that
yeah,
was great. But like, he
yeah.
was in bad shape afterwards. He's like, I need to take a moment.
Shit.
Like, what am I doing with my life? But overall, for having like the budget we had a lot more fun than we had like bad times. I think
Yeah,
the only I wish we had like an extra like week to just like spend more time on some of the special effects because there was so much like so many interesting special effects that were conceived that had to be cut because of time
yeah,
restraint, right?
yeah,
And we had it was 24 days total, so it was 6 days on, 1 day off for 4 weeks.
yeah,
And we just couldn't afford more than that. Like it was meticulously planned. Like like you were saying, we
yeah,
meticulously planned things and tried to stay on plan as much as we could. And there was times, especially in the big sequence in the where Telekinetic Yeti's playing and everyone's getting pulled
yeah,
away, and
yeah,
you see that big pile. Like we had more. It was basically like you get the whole day. Brad and Trent were both the special effects people. They own a local haunted house called Dark Chambers, and Trent's been a friend of mine for a very long time. So not only was Trent corralled in to play the mutated version of Killborn, because I know he'd be fine with it, knowing his history as a haunted house owner, but he was also going to be doing the special effects coming from the world of Haunt too. He had some awesome, really cool special effects prepared because he's coming from the world of a Haunt.
yeah.
Like he's not used to working with the camera, right? Like he's used to like these effects like looking good
From
to
every
the naked
angle.
eye,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. So uh, be it a blessing or a curse in this situation. So I was basically like, you have this whole day to kill as many people as you want to in interesting ways. Like have at it. And I wish I could have given him 3 days because
yeah,
that scene could have just went batshit fucking crazy.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like we could have showed every person that you see in that pile at the end
yeah,
die in different ways. And there's in the script it just keeps like going off about like but like we had the fetus getting ripped out of the drunk pregnant woman, and then the
yeah,
symbol thing, and uh, the drumsticks in the ears. So we
yeah,
got
yeah,
some cool things done
yeah,
still, but yeah. It's. I wish we just would have had a whole nother like 10
yeah,
grand, so we had
man.
like a whole nother week
Yeah,
at just
yeah,
like buffing up some of the special effects.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how about the bands that you got? Were these bands that you knew? Like I know Telekinetic Yeti, like they're a pretty big band anyway, aren't they? Like, are they friends, or did you ask them to do the film? Or
Yeah, so Alex Bauman, he's like the main guy in Telekinetic Yeti, the guitarist. They got a new drummer now, versus the old drummer. But Alex, I've known forever, just in the music scene here in Dubuque.
okay,
He
cool.
was in all sorts of different bands, metalcore bands, um, deathcore bands, and then Telekinetic Yeti now is like stoner rock doom
Yeah,
band. And I knew that Telekinetic Yeti was kind of popping off at the time. Like they were getting kind of they were like touring with like Weed Eater, and
yeah,
I don't know,
man.
like getting some supporting roles and some bigger national tours and stuff. And so I hit up Alex, and I had made like a couple music videos for one of his other bands, Wretches, like a few years prior. And I was like, yo, like I feel like your new band Telekinetic Yeti, if you can spare some time from tour, this is when we're shooting the band scene. Like I need a really loud band, because that was the whole joke, is like it's so loud that no one can hear everyone getting killed,
Yeah,
right? And then
yeah,
it just ends up being the band, and then everyone's dead. Which is funny as shit, because like I sometimes saw reviews when the film was first coming out, and they were like, the audio is fucking awful." And I'm like, well, the audio is only awful in one part of the movie, but it's like on purpose. Like it's
yeah, yeah,
supposed to just sound like blown out,
yeah,
like
yeah,
because we wanted it to sound like you're there, and like that's why you can't hear
yeah,
everything. But he immediately was like, "Yeah, I'm on board." And Mutilated by Zombies guys, I think they're kind of on a hiatus right now, but they were kind of like a local staple, just like straightforward death, you know,
Yeah,
uh, uh, technical death metal band. You know, again, the band's called Mutilated by Zombies. I think that's a joke in the movie too. It's like, you know, that's like, you know what you're gonna get right
yeah,
there, right?
yeah,
And Josh Demuth, he's the main guy there. Love that dude. One of that's another thing too about like that went into this like story wise and stuff. It's like so many people who aren't in the metal scene like think that because you know metal like on like we're performing on stage and like you know doing kind of like a tough man thing on stage that like some of these
that's what
people
you
are assholes.
like.
Some of the
Yeah,
nicest people that you've
yeah.
ever met
Like, look at George
are like you
Fisher's
know they'll get off the
fucking.
stage and sing like 5 songs about brutally killing their ex-girlfriend in unique ways, but then get off the stage and just like, yeah man, like it's
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
thank you so much, you know, and just the nicest people and the you know so grateful and just so willing to play ball you know with experimenting and different collaborations and stuff like this like you know
yeah,
yeah Josh was fantastic and then you know a few of the other bands were just like other local bands in Iowa that you know, we hit up and we're like, hey, like, would you be interested in and you know playing on stage and kind of being like this fake band? And
yeah.
obviously, Grandma Incinerator is essentially so they're played by like local people that I know in the acting community, but the actual band that does like the ending credits and stuff, that's essentially a Legion. It's all
Right.
the members of a Legion at that time. I know they've
Yeah.
changed, they've gone back to their more recent vocalist, but Greg Burgess, the guitar player for Legion, uh, I hit up trying to think of what the record label is. It's whoever Allegiant was signed to. I hit them up because I had a mutual friend that had an in at that record label. It might have been Metal Blade. It was one of those the big
Yeah.
boy ones. And I asked them about an older band on their label doing a track for the movie, and they're like, "Nah, they're gonna be like they're gonna need like studio money and this and that. Like, you should ask one of these like younger up and coming bands that like can do you know recording at home, and they're just like
Yeah.
hungry, and they do like a one off track for you know a couple grand or whatever."
Yeah.
And he got me linked up with Greg, and you know I basically just told those guys like the band's called Graham Incinerator. Like, I would love it if the song was called "The End of the Elderly." Like, those are the only two things that I'm giving you. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they knocked that song like out of the park because that's like kind of like the linchpin of credibility in the on the you know the bigger metal stage or whatever. Like having
Yeah.
those guys contribute a track to it. Um, Even though like when the movie came out, I think it was like one of the first press releases. I think it was either for Spooky Empire or the festival in London, and a Legion was brought up, and their record label like had a big stink for a second because they were like, whoa, 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 like it needs to say the members of a Legion. It can't say a Legion because they
Right.
were trying to like pivot the band into more
Okay.
serious
Yeah.
territory
Yeah.
for their next couple of records.
Yeah.
Anywho, little
Yeah.
anecdote, but yeah, all the musicians from you know the more local guys to the you know the up and comers like Telekinetic Yeti or the members of the Legion did you know such a great job you know lending their skills and again lending kind of like an air of credibility
Yeah. Yeah.
to the scene in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a George Fisher Field as well.
George Fisher Fields, you saw
So Fisher
the
over Barnes.
what's that?
George Fisher over Chris Barnes as the Cannibal Corpse
Oh,
vocalist, or Barnes?
yeah. Barnes is I love Barnes, man. But he's such a dick, you know.
Yeah, he is, man.
And
He really
Fisher
is.
is just
Yeah.
he's like
And he's
he's
the
like exactly what I was
loveliest
talking about
guy.
before. He's like one of the nicest dudes like
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And you cannot discount what Barnes
Did.
did
Right.
for Barnes has a shout out in the movie too. It's a little quicker though. I want to say it's the brand of bleach that Kilborn takes out of the closet is Barnes something Bleach.
Okay, cool.
Um, so there is a Barnes reference. There's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
ton of Easter eggs in the
yeah,
film. So I'm glad you saw the Easter keg
yeah,
hunt in George Fisher Fields. Um, but yeah, yeah, man. I'm a Fisher, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
just such an OG, you know.
What about the running over at the end, the multiple run overs? Have you ever seen the David the Rock Nelson film Conrad Brooks versus the Werewolf?
Mm-mm, no,
Dude, this film is like, do you know who David the Rock Nelson is?
no,
He's
no.
he's fucking awesome, dude. So he's like the shot and video guy who makes these monster movies where he wears uh, like cheap rubber masks of like the Universal monsters and runs around his garden. He's
Hell
been
yeah.
doing that for like 40 years, 50 years. He's like, he's getting older now. He's still doing the same thing, just running around with a camera, making these really crazy films. And in the,
Hell yeah.
I think the 90s, he made this film with Conrad Brooks, who was in Plan 9 from Outer Space, the Ed Wood film. And Conrad
Okay.
Brooks he's probably late 60s, 70s at the time when they make this movie. It's like an hour long.
Okay.
It's come out on Blu-ray recently. I think Bleeding Skull put it out. If you know those guys, they do stuff with
Yeah.
Agfa and maybe it's something to do with Vinegar Syndrome as well.
Sure. Okay.
At the end of that movie, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, this dude runs over a werewolf for literally 10 minutes of screen time, and he's just like
Okay.
pulling the car forward, stopping the car and going, no, I don't think he needs a little bit more, we're going to give the werewolf a little bit more. And then he backs it up, and then he talks some more shit, and then he backs, and I was like, it just never ended. And when I got to the end of your film, I was like, oh, this is fucking amazing. It's like that David the Rock Nelson film. I just wondered if it was a reference, but obviously not. You just had the same
Yeah,
awesome idea.
yeah, great minds think alike. I guess I'm sure their idea probably came from the same place where our idea was, which it's like, in these movies when there's like a vehicle nearby and you've essentially, this monster has been subdued. We think it's dead. Why not just make sure it's dead by using the vehicle and just completely smushing it to nothing, right?
Yeah,
Obviously that doesn't quite work, because Kilborn comes back at the end,
yeah.
but that actually it jogged my memory for something. We ended up like blowing the brakes in that van
Oh shit.
that we rented from a buddy of mine who runs like a flooring business. So I had to settle up with him that following Monday or whatever it was, and be like, yeah,
Yeah,
we
fuck.
we screwed up the van. What do I owe you?
Shit.
Because we just, like it was like Charlie was doing that for probably like 10 minutes, like while we were
Yeah,
getting the different angles and stuff. Even though it was only like on screen for like I don't know, like a minute or whatever.
yeah,
We
yeah,
joked though that like we're like, well, let's just cut the rest of the movie. Like we don't need the whole bit where like they almost kiss and it gets interrupted from metal. Like what wouldn't it be
yeah,
funny if the credits just started rolling like on the side, like
yeah,
while like the van is just like going like over, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Um, but yeah, that seems to be like a favorite point in the movie for a lot of people, and it makes sense because it was like one of the final things we shot, and we just had a blast shooting that scene. We were
yeah,
all just delirious. It was like the end of week 4, and it was like
yeah,
4 in the morning. We were trying to beat the sun from coming up, and
yeah,
literally the only thing we shot after that was the scene in Mariah's apartment where they're covered in blood because like that was like the only other scene. Like we literally ripped off. We didn't rip it off, but we literally cut Alex's hair.
right,
That
yeah.
wasn't a wig. Like
Oh
that was
shit.
actually his hair that we
Yeah,
cut
yeah,
when it got like ripped off or
yeah,
whatever. Um, funny side note there. It's like that week came and we were on lunch and I sat next to Alex and I was like, hey, you have a chance to? I'd love to talk to you about you know the final scene. He's like, yeah, sure, yeah. Super nice dude. It's like literally the same guy like that he plays. Um, and I was like, so it dawned on me we haven't ever talked about the elephant in the room, which is this hair ripping scene, right? I was like, I have some thoughts on how we can cheat it, but like I wanted to know how you felt about it, and I was like, I got some wig stuff that we can do like a fake and like we can like he's like, hey, like I thought we were just gonna cut my hair. I was ready for it, man. I'm ready for it. And I was like, for real? And he's like, yeah, yeah, it's gonna look way better. And I was like, okay, if you're
Cool.
cool with that, then
Yeah, yeah,
that's just what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut your fucking
yeah.
hair,
Cool.
like, and it'll be like the last, like, hurrah for everybody. So
Yeah,
that's what we did. And then I think after the movie wrapped, like, he just shaved his head.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
yeah, that was a real fun. It's funny too because I literally bought a house like kitty corner from that church.
Right.
It's not a church. It's actually a decommissioned church that is used as like an event space now. Steeple Square is what it's called. So it's like renovated, and people still get married in it, but they have
Yeah.
like arts events too. It's completely decommissioned. Bought a house there in 2019, so I was like, that's
So you
fine.
just
It's
see
like
it
right around the
all the
corner
time
now.
now.
Yeah, drive
That's
by it every
cool.
day, literally
Yeah,
every
that's
day.
cool. So what? Then you finish the film and you look for distribution. How did you hook up with Wild Eye? Did you go straight for physical? Did you try and do digital separate? Like, what was your plan with getting it released?
Yeah, I had just, a very limited experience with the digital release stuff with that first feature. So I was like, one of the disadvantages we had with this film was it started its festival run in very late. It was late November. We had a world premiere, and then our international premiere in December of 2019, right? And you know what comes 2 months later is the pandemic. So we had all these film festival screenings lined up for 2020, and they got
Yeah.
you know completely nuked because of the pandemic. So we had two screenings, and we're like, okay, well, what now? Had some interests. Like people saw that we had those two screenings, and there was some decent buzz or whatever. Um, but like it was a weird time
Yeah.
for everybody. So it took a little bit before we got like an actual couple offers on the table, and I think we had like three formal offers from various people that reached out to us, or I reached out to them a while before. And Wild Eyes just felt like it made the most sense. Trauma was another one
Yeah.
that gave us an offer, but Wild Eyes just felt like a Trauma was just going to do a digital release. At least they said they were going to start with digital and then go from there. Wild
Yeah.
Eyes was like, we're going to do DVD, Blu-ray, package together some special features, whatever you can give us, and do the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, it just like felt better.
Yeah.
And but it still it took a long time. It didn't end up releasing until December of 2021, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
still takes a very long time, even after you have, that's what, 2 years
Yeah.
from our premieres to our digital release. So it takes a really long time to
Yeah.
just like get your ducks in a row, do the delivery process, especially when you're doing physical alongside digital. So,
Yeah.
and I'm relatively happy with the physical release, especially. Wild Eyes did an amazing
Yeah.
job of that.
Yeah.
They've done a good job of getting it out there on digital. Like it's Tubi's gotten really big, especially over here in the States. I
Yeah,
don't know if
man.
Tubi's the thing over in the UK,
Yeah. Yeah. It
but
is pretty big.
that's how I feel like a lot of people that watch the film these days, before they end up buying Blu-ray or getting a physical copy, is they end up discovering it on Tubi.
Right.
Like all the
Yeah.
letterboxd reviews usually are like, I stumbled on this on Tubi, and
Yeah. Cool.
I love metal and I love horror, and let's go metal exploitation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Rob from Wild Eyes, he's done a pretty solid job, representing the film, and the Wild Eye label has pretty good reputation out there.
Is Donald Farmer's?
People know what they're getting, to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at a film festival. It's probably my favorite film festival of last year for the Driftless. Is Nightmare in the Ozarks, in a really small town in the Ozark mountain range in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, is where it's at. It was our third screening ever of the Driftless, and they had a movie. Forget what it was called, but it was basically like Jason X, but with werewolves in space. Obviously in space.
Yeah.
And man, what a movie. And the Q&A too was such a treat. Like it
Yeah.
was like one of the actresses, she was like the only one there. And I think it was like the end of their festival run. Anywho, she was just like went on this like 10-minute story about how the one of the scenes like is the main character's like tits like get ripped off, like the shirt rips off because her like boobs are growing because she's becoming a werewolf, and they like do this
Right.
like stop motion like hairy thing. Anyway, she told this like 10-minute anecdote about how this shirt that they bought wasn't ripping right, and
Yeah.
it was fun. But
Cool.
yeah, Wild Eyes, shout out Wild Eyes, and
Yeah, man.
uh, that's why I have all these copies here. Actually, I emailed Rob recently and was like, I realized like I got a couple copies, but I never like for myself. But I always just like bought them. Like, do you have any like sit laying around now that that's been a little bit of time
Yeah.
since it was released that you can just send? Like, I'll take whatever you don't want
Yeah.
and
Cool.
send me like 25. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
shout out for that.
So now you've finished your new film. You've made a new feature since Death to Metal called The Driftless, is it, or just Driftless?
The Driftless,
The
yep.
Driftless, and it's a anthology with you doing all the shorts, or is it you and other people?
Yeah, it's an anthology, written, directed, and produced by me.
Awesome.
So everything it's a unique for that, right? There are some anthologies where you have a singular, voice, in the writing and directing and everything. But beyond it all just being, written and directed by me, it also has the same department heads like we talked about,
Yeah,
right?
cool.
So my director of photography is the same, my editor is the same, my composer the same. So you get this experience in the anthology that feels much more,
Yeah,
almost like for lack of better thought, like like you think like Pulp Fiction. Like Pulp Fiction is kind of an anthology in
yeah,
a sense
yeah,
that there's like stories that are kind of like interweaving and like going back to one another and stuff, but it's never thought of as like an example of an
yeah,
anthology. Um, but it feels like a complete package, right? Because everything was kind of
yeah,
conceived and put together, and it was shot. So um, the only reason, so I wrote a lot of these stories for the Drift List during the pandemic, like when everything shut down and we weren't shooting stuff for a number of months. And
yeah,
and one thing that you can do, probably one of the only things you can do as a filmmaker by yourself, is write.
yeah,
So trying any other part of the process without help is very, very difficult.
yeah,
You could do it. You can make a stop motion
yeah,
film in your basement by yourself over the
dude,
course of 20 years. I'm sure someone's done that, but
yeah,
it's just it's better to collaborate. But so I just got to write, and when it was all said and done, and we went back to productions and stuff, I had like 10 or so scripts, ideas that I didn't really know what to do with, because I was like, I'm kind of at the point in my career where I don't really have an interest in just making like a one and done short film. Like I
yeah,
want to give everything that I stick money into a chance to have the best life possible,
yeah,
and in finding an audience and being seen by people. So I was like, well, what do I do? Do I just like pick out my favorite and try to, and then on top of it, there's always the money issue,
yeah,
right? My first two movies I crowdfunded. The third time I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, especially during the pandemic, like it's
yeah,
like I just don't think I can. I want to beg for money, and just end up with 25
yeah,
grand. And I was like, how do I like marry all of these issues, right? I have all these cool ideas without a home. I want to make another movie, but I don't necessarily know how to get it funded.
yeah,
And I want it, when it's all said and done, I want it to have an audience, right? Just like with Death to Metal, it was such a rewarding experience that months and years, us talking right now, after
yeah,
the film's been released, people are still finding it. And I was
yeah,
like, how do I continue down that path without doing the horror comedy thing right away again? Like
yeah,
I might return to that genre, and I was like, duh, a horror. So I kind of diagnosed like which shorts like had similar themes, and it kind of made sense that one of the through lines through most of the scripts, where I love filming in where I'm from, right?
Yeah,
Which
man.
is literally the Driftless area. That's a real place.
Oh, okay.
You look it up on Wikipedia, and basically why it's called the Driftless is it's the only part of the Midwest in the United States that is free of glacial drift. So most of the Midwest flat, and it's flat because glaciers flattened it
Oh,
out,
okay.
right? But before that, the Midwest was a very different looking place, like almost mountainous looking, like
Yeah,
very hilly, tall bluffs, very dramatic landscape compared to what most people perceive the Midwest is today.
yeah,
So um, that's where I live in the northeastern point of Iowa, right on the Mississippi River, and then that region extends upward through Wisconsin and Minnesota. So I was like, yeah, like all these stories make sense that they're all set in the Driftless region.
yeah.
Um, let's let's figure out how to do this. So shot the first short in September 2021, and then I
Using
kind of
local
realized
actors like before, so
no, I
people.
this is my first union shoot.
Oh,
So
okay.
so going back to the money problem, one of the things I also realized that an anthology could remedy was like I could shoot one of the shorts every year, right? Utilizing some of like the profits from my commercial and corporate business. My day job is I make commercials for a living. I make corporate videos for a living. You do what you do to keep your
Yeah,
art supported and
yeah,
keep
yeah,
yourself supported and that sort of thing. So I've been very fortunate to find a great client base that I've been able to work with and build up over the last 15 years.
yeah,
And yeah, it's in you get a little profit, stick it into a short film at the end of the year. Boom, you do that four times over, you have yourself
yeah.
an anthology. And the biggest thing though that got us over the hump for the new movie was a grant that we got from the state of Iowa, my home state, that we literally went in shooting the final piece, which is like the thread story that kind of threads everything
Okay.
together, not knowing if we got the grant. The grant was $50,000,
Wow.
and I was like, well, if we don't get the grant, like I'm broke. Like cool,
Yeah,
like but we'll put a pause on things, and I'll have to kind of just like figure out when we can reconvene and finish the movie. And
yeah,
and literally a week after we wrap production on the whole thing, it's called the Greenlight Grant. They emailed me and said you got it, and we were off to the races with post production, and yeah, so very very lucky to. It's like my stump speech on the festival circuit for this latest movie is like each one of these movies, as a filmmaker too, like each one of these projects is such a gift to like get it done,
yeah,
and I don't take any of them for granted. I didn't when we wrapped Death to Metal and had our premieres and when it had its release, like, and even now, like it's just so grateful. I'm so grateful to be able to finish any of these because it's rare that someone can finish a feature. I've
yeah,
been lucky enough to finish three. I hope that I can continue to make more, but things happen, life happens,
yeah,
money issues happen, and the next one is never guaranteed. So
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I appreciate every moment talking about these projects, and I appreciate everyone when they get finished, and the moment comes that people get to watch that,
yeah,
whether
yeah,
that's importing a
yeah, man.
Blu-ray from eBay
Yeah,
and
yeah,
watching it,
yeah,
overseas, or whether it's a film festival or what have you, or wherever it looks like, 100 years from now, if people are still like, into movies,
yeah, yeah.
then,
Well, I'm glad that you got
so
to do it, man. Like, I really enjoyed Death Metal. It was fucking awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing your new one and following what you make. Like I said, I wasn't really expecting it to be as like polished and well made and like high production value as it was. So like as soon as I was like, okay, who made this? So yeah, it definitely made me kind of like take note of you and look forward to seeing more of your work. So, and you're doing it the right
thank
way,
you.
man. Like putting up, you know, if you don't want to crowdfund, putting up your own money and going out there and doing it and making it happen and worrying about it later. Obviously, if you're listening to this and you're a filmmaker, don't bankrupt yourself to make a film. But at the same
No,
time,
yeah.
but at the same time, that's the way to do
Gamble
it. Like,
gamble smartly, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
know what the rules are, know what
responsibly.
the repercussions, and if you're gonna walk into the casino that is
Yeah,
filmmaking, like only walk in with what you're willing to lose, right?
yeah,
Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, but that's part of the thing. Like you said, it's like, in order to be successful in this business on the indie level, you really can't be risk averse because
yeah,
it's very risky, right? But like, I tell this to my wife all the time. It's just like something I have to do. It's
yeah,
like the minute I got a camera when I was 12, I saw the Blair Witch Project. I was like, I need a camera. I need to take a camera. We need to go out we need to go out in the woods and we need to do
yeah, yeah,
something. We need to make something, and it's just been like that ever since. Like,
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like, even though I got the three done, it's like I'm
I've
still
got it
just
there,
constantly
dude. The
writing.
fucking Blair Witch thing.
Dude, fuck yeah, yeah. I love that movie so much.
Yeah,
It's
me too.
so much so, like, I'm starting to like wonder, and I have like some ideas on the table that the fourth movie should kind of be a found
Yeah,
footage
let's do it.
movie. And I saw some really fun found footage movies on the festival circuit this most recent time
Yeah,
with the Driftless. I saw them playing, at the same festivals or whatever, and people still just are ravenous for good
yeah,
found
man.
footage.
Yeah,
So I feel like maybe I got a lot of ideas that are cooking right now, but I feel like maybe that might be a route that I go on next, just because it's like, again, it's a subgenre that I could pivot to that's so different than what I've
yeah,
done previous, but like I can take all I've learned and put
yeah,
it into that and hopefully make something unique and cool and that resonates. So we'll
yeah,
see, because yeah, I don't have the tattoo, but man, that movie,
yeah, yeah.
it changed my life
Yeah, me
because
too. Yeah. Did you believe
it's
that? Like, I believed wholeheartedly the marketing. I was on. I don't know if it was like whoistheblairwitch.com or whatistheblairwitch.com, whatever it was. I was on
yeah,
the
something like
fake
that,
website on dial-up internet, terrified when I was like 15 or however old I was when that came out. Like, I believed it fully.
dude. Same. I was 12 at the time in 1999, and I don't think my parents knew that I went to it, but I think they probably knew I went to it afterwards because I couldn't sleep for like a fucking week, man.
Yeah,
The ending just scared me so much, and it's
yeah,
something that I think about to this day when it comes to filmmaking, and it's just it leaves so much to your imagination,
yeah.
right? Like, and it's the perfect way to do it. I was reading an article recently about how they actually had like who's the Mike,
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
facing the corner in the Blair Witch. There was like an image. I don't think it was AI. Anyways, there was an image, like a behind the scenes image where he's like pinned to the wall, and there's like all the symbols, like the Blair
Oh,
Witch
okay,
symbols, and
cool.
like that was originally what they were going, like she was going to see when she went into the basement before the camera
Yeah,
got nuked or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But what they did with him standing in the corner and bringing it back to like the Rustin Parr angle with the kids and
yeah,
stuff was just like,
yeah,
I think about that a lot because it's just, again, the scariest thing, the thing that can scare you the most in a horror movie usually isn't something you can put on the screen. It's something that you can hint at on the screen,
yeah.
and then your audience will take it
That's the,
right in their imagination, because
yeah,
nothing is more powerful than the human
yeah, yeah,
imagination, and there's no way you can compete with that. So if you can just put something out there that can just make your imagination or make the audience's
yeah,
imagination
yeah,
explode
yeah,
a little bit, and that's why the Jaws shark worked, right? It's like less is more,
yeah,
show
yeah,
it
yeah.
less, scared about
I
what's
was, I was
underneath there.
literally, I was talking to somebody on a podcast last week. They were interviewing me because the first feature I made was a Bigfoot found footage film called Fox Hollow,
Cool.
which was no
Fox Hollow.
budget. Yeah, Fox Hollow it's called. I made it for 500 quid. I acted in it myself, and like,
Hell yeah.
they were like, "What? You didn't show anything most of the film," and I was like, "That's literally because of Blair Witch." Like, I took apart Blair Witch. I took apart. So I was reading like 8 Days in the Woods, the making of it, while I was writing the film, and then I literally was like, "Okay, all the heavy lifting is the first 20 minutes of film. Like, the first 20 minutes is what is scary without you realizing. Like, you spend all that time setting up the story and making it scary enough to stick in people's minds, so that when you're looking into darkness, you're thinking about Coffin Rock
Yep.
and the witch and
Mm-hmm.
like the woman whose feet didn't touch the ground. Like that's what makes it scary. And so for somebody like you who's like technically proficient and like obviously can write characters and stuff as well, I'd say definitely try a found footage at some point, even if it's not the next film you do, because it's really fun to not only go, okay, how can I set up something really scary so that people are thinking about it afterwards, but also you can't, it depends how found footage you want to go. So I was like, I can't use non-diegetic sound. Like I can't use fake sound. I can't use jump scare noises. I can't use bass drops. Like I can't use anything that wouldn't be in the footage, you know. And also like trying to write something where you need to continue to justify filming was a challenge as well. A really fun challenge,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that I think makes all those questions that you're bringing up that make an effective found footage movie. It's like when the suspension of disbelief isn't broken and you have answered all those things. That's what makes, you know, them a really good one, in my opinion. And sometimes they can throw that out the window and it can still be okay. Like the Hell House movies, like I think those have been really effective. Like that dude just knows how to set up a scare, right? And it's like, if you think like, why the fuck are they still filming? It's like, don't think about that. Like, but no, I got an idea. I got an idea on a treatment for a found footage movie. But again, there's a lot of ideas, no shortage of ideas. It's just, you know, when the opportunities arise and you know, the stars align where we can make another one. We'll see what feels right at the time, you know?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for speaking to me, man. I really appreciate it. It was fun. Before you go, do you want to let people know where they can find you, how they can check out your films, and when the Drift List is coming out?
Yeah, so you can find me on like Instagram. My handle is just my name, Tim Connery. Connery spelled the same as like Sean Connery, no relation. Same. I think I own all of the Tim Connery handles on like that's my Reddit handle. That's my. I don't use Facebook all that much anymore. I'm not on TikTok or anything like that. But you know, Instagram and Reddit, I'm very on quite a bit. You can find my first two movies on Tubi. I don't know if they're available on Tubi in the UK. If they're not, you should get a VPN because they're definitely available in the United States or I think in North America on Tubi. Same with like you can rent it on Amazon. Tubi's free with ads. Amazon you can rent. Otherwise, you can go your route with Death to Metal and find it on eBay. Import that shit. The Drift List is still out there, still on its festival circuit. I'm going to be in New York City here this time next week. We're having our East Coast premiere at the Winter Film Festival in New York City. And then right after that, we're going to be in Jacksonville for the Jacksonville Horror Fest, Jacksonville, Florida, for our I guess, Florida premiere. And then a night, I'm trying to think of the other one, a Night in Horror Film Festival in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is actually our first Midwest screening and our first screening in the actual Driftless area. So that's very fun. And I assume we have a sales agent locked for the Driftless, so I assume it's just, you know, going through the motions, figuring out our best distribution partners. And if I had to guess, I hope that the movie's out there on digital by the end of this year. If not, probably, you know, early next year, middle of 2027. These things take so long from ideation to final distribution. So, you know, but the best way is link up with me on Instagram or, you know, Reddit or whatever, follow me. And I usually keep that all updated. So, yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Tom.
See you later.